So this week there's been so many bloody tech launches you couldn't even count them all on two hands unless your mum and dad happen to be cousins and you were blessed with extra digits. We've had phones, tablets, huge fuck off laptops, even a new blower for fans of fizzy pop. All of which means your Uncle Spurt is kind of running on fumes right now. Well, fumes and a healthy dose of single malt obviously. So who's up for a half-cut, half-arsed recap of the week's tech jazz? No one? Not even you? Well, it's the lot of you then. Tech Spurt Weekly! Right, deep f***ing breath. Let's go. So on Monday, just as the weekend hangover was finally subsiding to a dull, nagging ache accompanied by the usual introspection and vomity regret, Poco decided to launch its latest wallet-friendly mobiles, the X5 and the X5 Pro. This big yellow git is the Pro model, which upgrades the chipset from a Snapdragon 695 to a 778G for a good bit of smoother gaming action. That 5000 mAh battery charges faster with 67W wide support rather than 33, plus the rear camera is now a 108 megapixel shooter versus the 48 mega on the regular Poco X5. Admittedly, the Poco X5 Pro ain't much different from last year's X4 Pro, but that performance boost is rather lovely. The fact that you can shoot 4K video now is great, and that yellow R still makes me feel all tingly in the trouserial department. But anyway, my Poco unboxing and full tour video is live right now, and it's pretty good if I do say so myself. For most of it, you can't even really tell that I'm hanging worse than a giraffe's dangly bits. And then on Tuesday, oh my god, it kicked off big style. First up, the Intel 13th generation CPU embargo lifted, so a big old sack of the latest beefcake gaming laptops were suddenly thrust out into the wild, including this here MSI Titan. And when they called it the Titan, they really weren't f***ing about. This thing is roughly the same size as Saturn's moon, and if it were a Titan of the Greek variety, it could even slay the mighty Cerberus. I mean, just clock that furry git over each of its enormous heads with this big old bastard here and it's lights out Fido. And then following all of that fun times, I didn't even have the chance to indulge in a few well-deserved whiskies or down a couple of shots of apple sours because OnePlus took to a stage in New Delhi and waggled about its latest 2023 flagship. The OnePlus 11 is exactly what you would expect if you paid any attention at all to the original Chinese launch. It is unsurprisingly a very OnePlus-y phone, with the big headline here being the welcome return of that alert slider. Did they take it away from the 10T just so we'd spaff ourselves silly at its immediate resurrection? Yeah, possibly, but the 11 also boasts beefy performance courtesy of Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset, plus excellent battery life and a pretty ruddy good camera too. And I reckon it looks better than a sack full of adorable puppies. And if you happen to disagree, well, let us withdraw to an exterior location and partake in trial by fisticuffs. Not really, obviously, I don't do fighting. I'd probably just use my usual tactic of dropping to my knees and blubber noisily, possibly evacuating my bladder for added effect until you walked away in disgust. But the big news at the OnePlus launch was the much hinted unveiling of the OnePlus Pad, a rare Android tablet packing premium specs for an as yet undisclosed price. That greenish aluminium unibody design looks pretty smart, with the option of slapping on a magnetic keyboard if you want to turn it into a makeshift laptop. That 11.6-inch display, which I believe is just IPS, is slightly curved at the edges, and it should merrily spaff out bright poppy visuals with Dolby Vision support and 144Hz refresh. The OnePlus Pad is powered by MediaTek's Dimensity 9000 chipset, which is rarely seen outside of China, but it should provide enough grunt for gaming and multitasking. And the tablet's battery weighs in at just under 10,000 mAh and supports 67W charging, so it should power up from empty in around 80 minutes. And I'll hopefully have my mitts all over that big rectangular bastard real soon. In fact, OnePlus said they would be taking it to MWC at the end of February, and I plan to be at MWC, and I also plan to be sober for bits of it, so hopefully then. Oh yeah, and OnePlus also launched a keyboard. No, I'm not f***ing with you, they really did. Apparently it has a rotary knob. They said rotary knob several times and I giggled like a giddy schoolchild. And as if all of that wasn't more than enough tech shenanigans for a single week, well, Realme rounded it off by whipping out a rather unusual limited edition blower. Do you like fizzy pop? Do you like phones? Well, why not combine your passions with this Realme 10 Pro Coca Cola phone? Show everyone just how much you like sugary carbonated drinks with this portable billboard, complete with Coca Cola theming for Android. Enjoy the satisfying fizz of bubbles every time you get a notification. decorate your lock screen with a cat thing literally drowning in Coke. Besides all of the soft drink shenanigans, this affordable blower is a regular Realme 10 Pro. You've got a whopping great 6.7-inch 120Hz display and ultra boom stereo speakers. You got a massive 5000 mAh battery and a 108 megapixel Samsung HM6 camera. And a full unboxing and review of the Realme 10 Pro Coca Cola Edition will be hitting the Tech Spurt channel as soon as I sober up long enough to actually edit the bastard. Anyway, finally, following that was all of the big tech news that I clocked for this week, mostly because I then went and hid under my duvet with that bottle of single malt. So now it's time for the part of the show that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy in my tummy, mostly because I just drove a kitchen knife deep into my guts. It's viewer comments! Viewer comments! How are you guys all doing, by the way? I hope you're awesome. Me, I'm a bit, did I tell you my daughter brought home a recorder from school this week? Those teachers, man, they are f***ing sadists. All I can say is it's a bloody good thing we don't keep firearms in the house. So let's kick off this week with Richard Clements. You're right, Richard, who says, I love the fact that I get a Pampers Punami advert between shots of you down in firewater. Yeah, because I'm a sad old nostalgia git, I often find myself chucking on the MTV, the 80s or the 90s music channels, and I swear every single ad break in those buggers is just non-stop nappies. I suppose I should be thankful that it's baby nappies and not adult incontinence diapers or something. I'm not that bloody old just yet. Or else if it's not nappy ads, then it's bloody erectile dysfunction pills. So apparently if you're old enough to remember who Oasis or Duran Duran are, then you're basically nothing but a numb lump of flesh down there. I mean, personally, I'm blaming the 90s for that one, or specifically the end of the 90s when the internet became a thing in our homes. I swear I didn't leave my bedroom for about 15 months, and when I did finally emerge blinking into the daylight, I had absolutely nothing left down there. My groin basically looked like a bloody He-Man figure. I've just been scanning through here. A massive thank you to RedStang70, to ZSXAA Collectibles, and to Tom's Videos 15 for your lovely words. You lot are ruddy awesome. Team YouTube as well, for your concern, says, hope you're okay, man. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, I guess I kind of am, mostly thanks to the existence of alcohol, Deliveroo, fried chicken buckets, and yeah, that's probably about it, actually. On the love and support of friends and family, I guess. So, unsurprisingly, we've had lots of Samsung correspondences. That was the one and only massive thing that happened last week. Roger Dat says, I'm waiting for the battery test review before I jump into the regular S23, just because of the camera. So far my Zenfone 9 is working like a champ. Good choice, sir. I've also got Amplified Poop saying, I'm hearing that the S23 series have great battery life, closely matching or occasionally surpassing the iPhone 14 series. And John Burrows says, after Uncle Spurt slated the battery life on the S21 and the S22, it'll be interesting how it holds up on the S23. Yeah, I'm hoping to get my grubby mitts all over that regular Galaxy S23 soon to really test it out and see if it can survive a full regular day. I'm quietly optimistic because slightly bigger battery, but also mostly because you've got that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 packed in there, which is pleasingly energy efficient, certainly compared with a lot of Samsung's own chipsets. But yeah, I've been really impressed with the Galaxy S23 Ultra so far, that's for damn sure. Getting strong Michael Myers vibes from this thing because it's absolutely unkillable. Just when you think it's down for the count, whoa, nope, straight back up again. On the subject of pricing, Galaxy Pixel says those trade-in deals though. And yeah, DumDum also points out Samsung is doing some decent trade-in offers, at least for the latest S23 blowers. You can get the 512GB version of the Ultra for the same price as the 256GB. So yeah, it helps to take some of the sting out of the metaphorical violent uppercut straight to the nads that was the original pricing. Definitely makes things just a smidge less ludicrous. And we've also got Info Orange saying, I bought the Galaxy A52s a year after it launched for less than half the launch price. That's a bit of a bargain. And it is a fantastic phone. Your review helped me make up my mind. Still has 3 years of updates. Why would anyone pay £800 plus for a bloody phone? Yeah, the A52s is still a bit of a banger. It was a real shame about the A53 because it was a great phone on everything apart from the bloody performance. They had to go Exynos, didn't they? So I am excited, genuinely thrilled to my pants about the A54. Here's hoping that Samsung decides to stick a Snapdragon in that one as well. And on a similar note, Theodore Techers says, do you think that the A-series phone prices will increase too? I mean, possibly if we do go back to Snapdragon and just everything in general is getting more expensive and that little bit shitter. I mean, ha ha ha, no, of course not. Everything will work out absolutely fine, you'll see. Buddy, happy, happy, keep on smiling. Sorry, one of my New Year's resolutions was to be a little bit more upbeat, not quite as moany and gripey. Can you tell it's really working? Now, daring to change the topic from Samsung, we've got Tiger May Fury asking when we can expect some new Sony Xperia smartphones. Unfortunately, bugger all concrete information on that one so far, but I would expect it to be pretty much a full year on from last year's Mark IV launch, which was around sort of April, May time. I guarantee you it'll be just as I bugger off for a week's holiday to finally escape the onslaught of new tech. Yeah, guaranteed. That's what ballsed up last year's effort. And the Island Stacker says, what we need is a Google Pixel 7 Pro and a Sony Xperia Mark IV body. Woof, absolute filth. Yeah, I agree, man. I really like that Sony Xperia smartphone design. So I think for me, a Pixel 7 Pro, but in the body of a Sony Xperia 5 Mark IV with that compact form factor. Oh my god, I would be all over that like a horny dog all over a nice fluffy pillow. JKid323 says, it's been a while since I've watched your videos. Lucky. James Smart says, all flagship phones cost more than my first car. Shows our age, Chris. Yeah, I definitely think it's time for some proper old fogey talk. Remember when penny sweets used to cost a penny? Remember when no one knew what an Elon Musk was? Ah, great days. Jason says, are we getting any footage of the Poco launch on Monday or a look at the new phone in one of your award-winning unboxings? I mean, that's very kind of you, mate, but I think the only award that my videos are winning is the most incoherent bollocks on the internet award. But as I mentioned earlier in this particular shower, yes, I did indeed do an unboxing and full tour with the Poco X5 Pro model, at least. I haven't pressed flesh with the regular Poco X5 yet. Jed Bullet, right, Jed says, after a crap morning, it's always good to log in at lunchtime for a bit of Uncle Spurt and not go back to work. I hope your day improved significantly, sir, despite my apparent involvement in it. And yes, I do miss those days. Used to really enjoy back when I had a proper job of buggering off down the pub at lunchtime on a Friday and then simply not coming back. Definitely do miss all that, although not that I don't sack off work to get absolutely loaded these days. Ben Knight says, I like the phone with the screen that wrapped all the way around the body. That's Huawei, the Huawei Mate XS, I believe. And XS is on the bloody money as well. Sure, it was ridiculously impractical and it would cost a bunch to manufacture, but from a cosmetic standpoint, I like the cyberpunk vibe that comes from having a live wallpaper take up the entire back of the phone. Yeah, that thing was pretty awesome, to be fair, and in a strange kind of way, it did make sense because, yeah, basically you had one display on this thing, not two. It curved all the way around the outside of the device. So it was basically like an inverted Galaxy Fold. And it was great because you had a full cover screen on the front and the back as well. So yeah, you could get some crazy wallpaper shenanigans on the go. And then when you opened it up, that cover screen became the bigger screen as well. So you didn't need two screens. I mean, I can only imagine it was the product of several late evenings spent snorting an awful amount of grade A substances. And I absolutely adore Huawei for doing crazy shit like that. Speaking of which, I do have some more Huawei goodness coming at you real soon. Can't see any more than that because I'm embargoed right up to the nads and beyond, but hopefully soon. Next up, Baranga says, have you watched last season's anime Boki the Rock? I have. I didn't realise that was last season, actually. I thought that was a new one, but I have watched a couple of episodes of it, rather liked it. I'll probably go back to it, actually, because I stopped watching it in order to start watching Chainsaw Man, which I've only just finished. Finally did episode 12. I've got to say, I absolutely love just how horny that show is. And the contrast as well, like sometimes like, the start of an episode will be really dark and introspective and it'll cover, grief and some really pretty full-on subject matter. And then the back half of the episode will just be about the main character trying to grow up some titties. Seriously, never have I watched an anime that feels quite so much like it was written by a 50-year-old and a 15-year-old simultaneously. Anyway, better make this the last comment of the week, kiddies, because bang out of time as always. And Etienne says, now have a mental image of Chris rocking up to the Falklands in shorts, sunscreen and sunglasses, and then spotting the penguins. For Christ's sakes, is the Falklands cold then? I mean, trust us lot to colonise somewhere that doesn't even have bloody good weather. I'll f it all off then. Anyway, a week in Benidorm, that'll do me. Lying on the sun with the rest of the pasty/lobster red Brits. Eating fish and chips and drinking lager like I might as well have just been in Brighton. Anyway, massive, huge amounts of thank yous to everyone who commented last week. Please do typey tap down in the comments below and we will smash our way through as many of those morphos as possible next week. And speaking of next week,
this is about next week.
So a week today, February the 15th, I've got two embargoed launches. We've got something from Oppo and something from Huawei, so stay tuned for a bit of hands-on, feely, touchy action there. Oh, excuse me. And if that and everything else that preceded it didn't already put you off, there will be another Tech Spurt Weekly next Friday as well. Hooray! So as always, have a freaking wonderful weekend, everybody. Don't forget to poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell if you haven't already. Tell your friends. Make sure you watch them very closely as they also do the pokey, likey, subscribey thingies. I'll see you later. Love you.